beautiful. We have amazing news updates this very morning. Welcome to the newspaper review segment. My name is Vicious Nudi.
And my name is George Gishuru. And we start with the Standard. They go with the headline, when US sneezes. And there is a photo there of the incoming president, that is Donald Trump, who will be sworn into office this today, that is. And they say, who will get a cold? Today, Donald Trump gets sworn in for a second term, and the world is watching with bated breath. From peace missions to trade agreements, from immigrants deportation to health programs, a lot is at stake as the Republican becomes most powerful president. It's a story that you can read on page number 4. That is in as far as the same is concerned. Page number 4, you can read that in details in as far as the US elections are concerned. And I see also from the front page, Ruto, you failed youth, you are now inciting. President William Ruto yesterday told the youths not to listen to naysayers, inciting them against his administration, saying those leaders failed to create jobs for them. We do not need to incite our children to engage in violence and chaos. It's a story that you can read on page 10. Ruto tells youth to ignore inciters, which is a veiled rebuke of Uhuru's remarks. The president said those who are inciting the youth had failed to create jobs for them. The former president, Uhuru, had urged young people not to relent in fighting for their rights. So that story is covered on page number 10. Then there is a very disturbing story here. Who wanted fiery Molo activist dead? The mysterious murder of activist Richard Otieno, a vocal critic of the government, has sent shockwaves through the residents of Molo and also Elbagon. It's a story that is on page 2, and many questions are being asked here. Otieno was hacked to death on Saturday night near Elbagon police station. He was a youth leader and a fierce critic of the government and Molo MP. So that's a very disturbing story. And of course, we hope that, the police can do a thorough job so that they unearth what really happened to the Molo activist Richard Otieno, who was killed on Saturday night. Then I see KCSE cheats to get second chance in July. It's a story that is on page 2. Page 3. New rule gives students a chance to retake KCSE exams in July. Over 840 candidates involved in malpractice have been given another chance to retake the exams. Previously, NEC enforced a 2-year suspension for candidates found guilty of cheating. So David Njegere, the NEC chief executive, says, I wish to remind the public that the last KCSE examination will be done in 2027, and anyone wishing to repeat fully or partially should take advantage of the remaining chances to do so. So you read that in details on page number 3 as well. Looking at other stories inside the Standard, there is the health and science pullout. Rare surgery salvages cancerous limb. Life-saving procedure involved removal of part of the bone with a tumor, treating it with heat to kill cancer cells, then re-implanting it into the patient. It's a story that is on page 4 and page 5. Inside the same pullout, rising cancer cases not linked to GM foods. It's on page 8. And BCG vaccine crisis could spark surge in newborn TB cases. Remember the shortage of BCG vaccines. And so experts are warning that it could spark a surge in new TB cases. Then I see from the county news, how will Sakaja balance order and livelihoods in Nairobi CBD? That is the question they are asking. And the county issued directive mandating that hawking be confined to back streets. Hawkers argue the designated areas are not ideal for business. So how will the governor balance order and livelihoods in Nairobi's CBD? It's on page 17. Now in Taita Taveta, they are seeking a slice of 5 billion shillings from vast Tsavo cattle ranches. It's on page 18, so you can read that as well. The business section, state rekindles oil gas search dream after Talo setback. Government plans to acquire geoscientific data to facilitate a renewed search for oil and gas. It will also conduct extensive geological surveys to identify hydrocarbon reserves. That is on page 19 inside the Standard. Of course, the world news, Inauguration Day, a new era as Trump is sworn in with spectacle. In a break from tradition, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump invited world leaders and heads of far-right parties. The ceremony features star-studded performances, a shift indoors, and a new focus on tech moguls and foreign leaders. It's a story on page number 23. We go to the sports pages. Are you a Man United fan? You need to turn away because they are saying Red Devils are dead and buried. That is the headline.
Nashuku ni hiyo jina walijipea.
Ni kweli?
Unajua kuna majina.
There is power.
There is power.
Yeah. Lakini mipira ya wazungu isikupatie sleepless nights.
Hata Jesus alisema, I saw the devil come down as lightning.
So anyway, Manchester United continue with their dismal performance. So yesterday they were thrashed at home 3-1 by a fantastic Brighton. And so that was their 4th defeat in their last 5 home matches. So in the last 10 matches I hear, they have won 2. Anyway, yeah, so that is the story you can read on page 32. And also, why Arsenal must cover faces in disbelief. Mikel Arteta admitted Arsenal had to take the blame for their damaging 2-2 draw against Aston Villa after sloppy defending cost them a chance to keep pace with the Premier League leaders Liverpool. That's on the back page. And then on page 31, Ogam strikes as Tusker silence Gor Mahia. Kenya Police move second after win over Moranga Seal. And I see Nairobi City Stars and KCB drew 1-1. Bandari and Shabana also recorded a 1-1 draw. That is on page 31. Cabra Sugar, KCB and Oilers, they maintain top spot. That is in as far as the Kenya Cup is concerned. Read that and much more on page 30 inside the Standard.
All right, and coming down to the Daily Nation,
Yep.
I see the top story here is on politics. Jubilee Party plans to enter a coalition against Ruto. Uhuru factor in Matiang'i 2027 bid. So I see here the former Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i's presidential ambitions, they continue to gain traction, with allies of Uhuru Kenyatta saying the former president plans to back him to dethrone President William Ruto. A leading figure in Uhuru's party yesterday said as things stand, Matiang'i is the Jubilee Party candidate for presidency. Wameshaanza kuchipuka
Na kujipanga.
na kujipanga. Unajua miaka miwili tu. Hata si miwili. Maana hii kitoa
tutoe hii 2025
imeisha.
Imeenda.
Ile naona for 20th leo it's null and void, you know.
So ni 2026.
Yes.
Kwa sababu sasa tukianza 2027 January sini campaign.
Ndio hiyo sasa. So
tuchaguane August.
Basically, we just have a year to see how things go. But anyway, that's a story covered on page 4. And I see here a source is saying that Uhuru is seeking to reach out to former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, whose allies were recently co-opted into President Ruto's broad-based government, to join Matiang'i's camp before 2027. It is coordinated. Uhuru is trying to put together the opposition to support Matiang'i. He's the one behind all these plans, the source said. This is very interesting. And at least 9 legislatures from the Gusii region attended a consultative meeting hosted by Matiang'i in Karen, Nairobi on Tuesday last week, where the issue of his candidacy was in fact discussed. Of course, the political heat continues to go higher and higher, and it can only go higher moving forward. But we will follow up and give you the updates as they come moving on, I see a very interesting story here that is covered on the Daily Nation, and that is on page 3. Woman's sudden blindness sparked gospel revolution. So this is a lady who, in fact, is called Caroline Muthoni, and her story is said to be Caroline Muthoni's journey from darkness to light is one of resilience, faith, and triumph. And in fact, something I love is that she contemplated suicide because she went through a very tough season, was struck with blindness, and also was going through a lot of domestic violence in her house. And so even at that, after contemplating suicide and wanting to kill herself, actually it goes on to say that she one time received a new inspiration in 2012, and that is when she found herself composing gospel songs. And it was at this moment, she says that she was everyone was low because of just circumstances around them. Please look into that story. I believe it will be an encouraging one. Page 5, Gachagua, expect my new party in 14 days. Well, he wants leaders allied to Ruto to prepare for a political duel come 2027. Anasema in 2 weeks time I will give you direction and I will do it in a live television interview. I don't know which television will have the honor, probably several, but he vows to form a formidable force against the president. Hey, Javani, where you deal unasikia when your enemies gather.
Yeah, I tell you.
They gather. They gather in numbers. Si Uhuru huku kwingine ni Gachagua. Javani. Tutaona vile mambo itaenda. But that's a story covered on page 5. You can look at it in more details. And page 6, Mbadi Wandai abandoned cars for choppers. Okay. CS use helicopters for official duties and to attend funerals and other events. Wow. I mean, at such a time as this, this is quite interesting.
Yeah.
Mr. William Odhiambo, we have now committed to support the current government so that we can continue witnessing such events. This is very, very interesting. Hey, sasa ni helicopters. I can only imagine.
Chini kuna traffic sana.
Kuna traffic, you know, it's not really conducive. Well, this is quite interesting. I can only imagine the amount of money that these helicopters ride have to consume. You know, in order for them to just attend funerals. But anyway, it is well. We see where the taxes are going. But page 7 here is covering, we are in a crisis, head teachers say, on delayed cash to schools. You know, the irony. Anyway, I see Kesha urges Treasury Education Ministries to disburse 64 billion shillings to ease the suffering. Saying here that the state should release the 64 billion backlog of capitation that has been withheld over the past 4 years so that we can clear debts. Utilities such as water and electricity have to be paid. We are really struggling. Quite unfortunate. Quite unfortunate. Page 8, farms in 5.1 billion shilling police insurance deal to report on claims payments. That's a story covered on page 8. And the junior sport, of course, today covering several stories regarding children and the amazing things that they are doing. I see one here, weightlifting champion Ace Hood can lift more than triple his weight. Jamani, mtoto mdogo yashaanza kuinua machuma. Ace Hood Odhiambo. This year he's hoping to train harder ahead of 2026 Youth Olympic Games in Senegal. Maureen Gikonyo here is saying, my mom introduced me to this sport. At first, I didn't like it, but I grew to enjoy the good at weightlifting. This is quite interesting. Eshood Odhiambo. Jamani, watoto siku hizi wana mambo. And this is a championship featured contestants aged between 13 and 20 from Kenya, Tunisia, Egypt, Seychelles, South Africa, Madagascar, Mauritius, Libya, and Uganda. This is just a story of a parent empowering the child. I didn't know it would get to the weightlifting, but this is quite interesting. But anyway, the mom is the one who introduced it. So that says a lot about the family. Look at that story on the DN2 Junior Sport this morning. And just moving on quickly, touching just a bit on the business here. I see new rules to guide public assets lease in cash hunt. I also see Kenya Seeds NCBP NCPB partner in seed distribution drive. And moving on to the sports pages, Kenya finds its stride in mountain running. Athletics Kenya using series to pick team for global championship in Spain. I also see page 35, Pipino Wanyoike, award-winning boxer living in obscurity in Kiambu. At the age of 68, retired boxer who won 8 gold medals for Kenya in various championships in his heyday now lives in obscurity in Kiambu County. And the back page here covering Onana horror show compounds Manu's misery on home ground. So Brighton climb to 9th place with victory at Old Trafford. 4 points off the top 4, leaving United in 13th. That's a story covered on the back page. I don't know if the Manchester United fans will remain united
during this very difficult period.
We said the grace is sufficient.
Yeah, the grace is sufficient. All right. Yes. Quickly, the Business Daily. Shrinking home ownership rate tests Ruto housing plan. Share of homeowners drops to 61% from 64% in 2013. Proportion of renting households up from 36% to 39%. So read that. That is the share of Kenyan households owning homes has shrunk by at least 3 percentage points over a decade. A new survey has revealed as more people moving to urban areas prefer to rent houses instead. Then I see President top officials' wealth to be published on IMF pressure. So the Treasury will start making public the wealth of top state officers, including the President and his deputy, after caving in to pressure from the IMF. And office space owners hit by 34% vacancy. A new report by the National Bureau of Statistics shows 34.4% of available office space remains untaken. And then Ndindi Nyoro books 200 million shillings gain from Kenya Power stake. Kiharu MP Ndindi Nyoro has seen the value of his stake in Kenya Power jump to 210 million from 33 million shillings 6 months ago after the stock's recent rally of more than 300%, underlying the large gains available to investors who acquire shares when valuations are depressed in a bear run. And then a quote here, a key lesson for someone wishing to join boards is this: understand basic financial accounting. If you do not, then confirm the audit committee chair does. That is Karo Musyoka, and you can read that story on page 9. And so that is what is being reported in the newspapers this morning. You can grab your favorite copy and get to see what is being reported. A lot is happening, and so as well, let's continue to pray for our nation, for the well-being of our nation.
Absolutely. And right about now, we are now going to have a look at the video of the day, which is a song by Size 8 Reborn, Draw Me Close to You. I love her version. We're going to be listening to it, and then we come back, talk a bit about it, even as we invite today's conversation from 8. See you in a bit.